Hello, hello. Hello. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmtown.com. Did it again. You know, professional. Over 250 episodes, and I still derp this intro. Hello, how are you? Let me do it right. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmtown.com. That's what powers the ohmTown Daily News Show. And that's what this show is. This is the ohmTown Daily News Show for September 14th, 2022. Got a bunch of articles that I've already selected. Let's get straight into it. I'm not going to do the whole intro thing. I do want you to know, though, I'm going to have a little bit of intro to this episode. So, um, I am in a field wherein I have to have a broad spectrum attempt at understanding the mechanics of business, technology, and society. That's the three that I focus on. That said, I've been for the last 2 years really kind of analyzing what's going on in the world with the pandemic and with economics, global machinations of supply and demand. And that's really what I actually went to school for a decade and a half ago. Um, well, I'm looking at the numbers. So yesterday, you may have realized, may have seen, may have heard that the stock market kind of wet the bed. Today, it climbed back out. All of them did, and Dow Jones Industrial Average, S&P 500, Nasdaq. They all climbed a little bit, right? But really, they're still negative based on from yesterday. And so they're flat. Might as well just call it what it is. Bitcoin is let me get over to the Bitcoin. I have a bunch of tabs here. So oil is flat from yesterday. Gas prices continue to drop a little bit. By the way, remember that gas prices continue to drop. It's actually pretty important. I can't find my Bitcoin tab. I have so many tabs open right now. Anyway, Bitcoin, I think, dropped below 20,000. So yeah, it's right on the cusp of it. Yesterday it dropped below 20,000. Today it dropped below 20,000 considerably. It dropped to $19,759.10. That's largely based off of inflation numbers that came out. So saying that it was 8.3, which is a shocking decline over the 8.5 previously. Same year or same period last year. So really what's going on is inflation is still high. At any rate, so Bitcoin just barely climbed out of the hole that it dug today by only $62. So barely trading at 20,000. So 20,210 to be precise. But for the last 2 years, I have been, um, when I talk to people about the state of affairs, I've been telling them that the biggest problem, the reason why we have inflation, the reason why the cost of living is increasing is because of the producers of products, not the producers of products that where they are taking some, not the retail channel, right? So these are the people that are making the raw materials and assembling them in some way to provide to people who take those assemblages and put them all together. So it becomes what's referred to as the producer price index. So I've been looking at this and wondering what's really going on. Well, um, gas prices started to go up 2 years ago, and they kind of waffled back and forth for a while, but the writing was on the wall, along with a couple of other industries saying the end of this rather cheap era is over. But there was something ominous about that when I heard it back in 2019. Then COVID hit. So 3 months into 2020, I start watching as prices increase. So today I decided to go back and look at what is referred to as the producer price index. And right around March of 2020, the producer price index in the United States started shooting up, right? So it climbed with the rate of COVID infections. The producer price index increased as well. Has it declined? No, it did not decline. Not until the price for oil and hence the price for gas started to decline. And lo and behold, the same month that the price for gas started to decline, the producer price index started to decline. So it started at 117 back around March of 2020 and shot through the roof until it hit 142 or so. And then in August, it stabilized. And so what I have been saying for the last 2 years is gas prices are dictating the producer price index, and the producer price index is dictating all of the rest of the inflationary trend, because as the greedy oil barons are taking money from everybody just to get the short-term gain to recover from the first year of COVID, the oil producers, gas producers, start forcing everybody else to raise their rates. Now, there was no reason to do this. There was absolutely no reason, because people were either going to buy gas and go out and risk their lives getting COVID, and or the supply chain was going to continue. Drivers were going to drive trucks, deliver the goods, etc., right? Well, you get a 1-2 punch of people starting to drop dead because of COVID, and then greedy bastards taking money out of everybody's pockets in a time where it is the most destabilizing thing that you can do. Take money away from people who are just trying to make ends meet. And during this time, they're getting record profits. You can go and look at all of this stuff yourself. Just do a search for consumer price index and producer price index and reference that with oil prices, gas prices, and you'll see for yourself that since 2020, right when COVID starts really clamping down on people and everybody starts dropping dead, you get record profits, you get increased prices, you get hobbling the supply chain, not only because people are dropping dead all over the place, 1 million people in the United States. I was watching a news agency talking about, I think it's Brazil, and how, oh my God, Brazil, the number of people died in Brazil. And I'm like, no, 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 you don't seem to understand. The same rate in Brazil is what's going on in the United States, right? I calculated it's the same ratio. 0.003% of the population died. Okay. Anyway, that's really that was the conclusion that I came to today, that all of this, the high CPI, the producer price index, is all caused by gas. So everybody switch to EVs and do it in a way that prevents the same thing happening with electricity as what's happening with oil and gas. Very few producers of the raw materials make it possible for somebody to get oil and gas. Mergers and acquisitions caused the ability for a very select few people to control the entirety of the economic system in the United States, let alone elsewhere. Everybody is suffering from the same thing. It's just different in a subtle context, but really it's the same. The producers are demanding more money immediately now instead of bearing the burden just like everybody else is. Why? Because they can, and they're sociopathic. They're not being harmed by this in any real way because they have billions of dollars that are being concentrated into their wallets, whereas everybody else is suffering. We can talk about it again. I certainly will. If you want to, you can throw some comments in chat. By the way, I no longer stream over to YouTube. It will archive over there eventually. I stopped streaming to both. I'll concentrate on Twitch. ohmTown itself might pivot into an app. The website might pivot into an app. I'm doing the research on that right now. I have some pretty serious custom scripting behind the scenes that will need some considerable work in its pivoting, but I think mobile apps are really where it's at, and it facilitates something that I want on the store, not the store, on the via the app store. The distribution is easier, and speed and reliability is better on the app side of things. And I have a particular function that I want for everybody that I just can't get on the web side. So I hope that I can get it done on the app side. But I'm doing research right now, so it'll be announced before I actually pull the ripcord and pivot over to an app based, and it'll be in both Android and in iOS. Okay. Well, anyway, that said, let's get into today's news. The very first article is in the Four Wheel Tech channel. No gimmicks, no problems. The low fuss, reasonably priced e-bike. I don't know how this really pans out as low cost or reasonably priced. The Velotric Discovery 1 isn't about looks or performance, but it's a fine e-bike. I don't know. I kind of dig it. I mean, for crying out loud, it looks pretty utilitarian. It looks like it gets the job done. I don't know why they're saying that doesn't necessarily have good looks. But let me throw this into the chat, and let's talk about it for a second. John Timmer over at arstechnica.com writes the article for this, and they say that it's a reasonably priced e-bike and that it isn't about looks or performance. But it says here, even if that wasn't the intended message, they have a paragraph up above it, the Honda Accord of e-bikes. It does seem to be what the bike, the $1,299 Velotric Discovery 1 delivers. There's nothing especially exciting about the ride, and the bike won't turn heads or invite questions, but in terms of the overall experience, it delivers something a bit closer to a high-end e-bike at a cost that's much closer to a no-frills budget option. $1,300 for a bike is not a no-frills budget e-bike. Maybe I have the completely wrong picture of what e-bikes should cost. But $1,200, I don't know. It's 3 times the cost of my first car. It's a whole lot smaller too, and I could carry 4-foot by 8-foot sheets of plywood in the back of my first car. I could put uh we used to put orange cones on a friend's car. It would drive them nuts, and we would call it the Fiesta-losaurus. I could put an entire Ford Fiesta inside the bed of my first car. and it didn't cost $1,300. Of course, I almost died in it, but that's okay. Um, so this is a little e-bike, but $1,300 worth of it. The Discover, I thought it was Discovery. Oh, it's the Discover one. But here they have it written as Velotric Discovery 1. And then it changed names in the article to Discover 1. Okay, I'm just going to have to walk away. The next article is in the Four Wheel Tech channel. And it is titled "The Grand Cherokee 4XE is a great Jeep and a solid hybrid." When Fiat Chrysler America merged with Peugeot, part of the reason was the former's challenges in getting an electric vehicle to market was the US, or in the US. By the time the merger was finally consummated in early 2021, the plug-in hybrid Chrysler Pacifica minivan was the only electrified vehicle in the US portfolio of Stellantis. Since then, the authors seen the launch of two new PHEVs from the company's top US selling Jeep brand, the Jeep Wrangler 4xe and the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe. Two decidedly different styles, by the way. So let's click this link. And EVs are essentially gas powered cars, but with a battery, right? So you would think that maybe they would fall in line with the price of a combustion engine because you're just swapping out one part for another. Less mechanical, whatever you want to call all the mechanical stuff in the car, but that's not the case. So Eric, I think it's Bangaman. If it might be Benjamin, I'm not sure. Eric, let me know. Send me a text. Jeep's first plug-in hybrid SUV. I don't know who Eric is, so they probably wouldn't be able to text me, but hey, it's worth a chance. Hits the mark on ride quality and comfort. So this is the Grand Cherokee 4xe. It's a great Jeep and a solid hybrid is the title. But these things are pretty expensive, you know? The Jeep Wrangler 4xe and the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe. The Wrangler 4xe is a turbocharged 2.0 liter inline four. Interesting. It uses the same powertrain. So let me jump over some of this because these are hybrids, not pure electric. And that gives them a little bit of an interesting mechanic here because the end result is a 375 horsepower powertrain with 470 pound-feet of torque, outdoing the 5.7 liter V8. And all three power plant options are paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Pretty interesting, right? So to me, this is pretty much the sweet spot of electrics because I want a hybrid electric vehicle now instead of a pure electric, only because I don't think that we have the mechanics right for pure electric. I say this pretty much every time I end up talking about it. I don't know if it's just right now people are just getting annoyed that I'm even talking about it. But the Grand Cherokee, the base model starts at $70,000. Well, $60,700. But if you want all the bells and whistles, there's a $76,000 Summit Reserve model, and they tested the Trailhawk 4xe at $72,000. I'm rounding up, but by the time you might have to do a special request to get a $61,000 base model Grand Cherokee 4xe. But I would recommend to anybody who is taking a dive towards electric vehicles that you get a hybrid because right now you have to sit around and wait for a car to charge. when you are all electric. It's just not, it's not in the works. I mean, I see people that are sitting there pulled over and they are streaming for 2 hours while their car is charging, and it doesn't make any sense. There aren't enough chargers to do that kind of thing. We need a better process, and I think fast swap batteries. And you don't pay as a consumer. You don't buy the battery. You lease it in perpetuity. As long as you own the vehicle, you can swap out the battery, and you pay a monthly fee, just like gas. You drive the car around and you swap out the battery. You drive the car around and you swap out the battery. And whenever you swap out the battery, there is a fee involved, just like cars, gas cars right now. Except gas cars right now, you never know what the real price is going to be, but it's $20 easy every time you fill up your car. $40, really. I think that's really the new from empty to full spot is $40. But imagine just swapping out a battery for 25 every time you swap out your battery. Everybody pays $25 every time they swap out if you have an electric vehicle. But you don't pay for the battery. That is a $12,000 cost that nobody has to worry about anymore except the manufacturer and whoever it is that owns a franchise of battery swapping businesses, right? Even in electric mode, you can feel the transmission moving through the gears, but that's about the only complaint from inside the cabin of the 4xe. Surprisingly quiet ride, especially in electric mode. You won't go very far in pure electric mode, but it's rated at as a pure PHEV, there are better options than the Grand Cherokee 4xe. The equivalent SUVs from Kia and Hyundai are rated at over 75 miles per gallon off or longer battery only range, and they could do much better than the 56 rating of the Lincoln Navigator PHEV. Where the Grand Cherokee stands out from the competition is its ability to go off-road. It's faithful to the Jeep badge and Trailhawk branding in that regard. But a base price north of $62,000, there are better options if price is your top priority. And I agree, I would go elsewhere unless you like and are loyal to the Jeep brand and want to push towards pure electric and motivate manufacturers. I would get something that actually pushes the envelope a little bit further into electric hybrid where you get better gas mileage. If you're not going off road, then you don't need the Jeep. Let's move on to the next article. This one is over in Four Wheel Tech as well. Today is largely going to be, well, probably the wrong combination because I have alcohol stuff in here and I have automotive stuff in here. So I'm not endorsing that. Don't drink and drive. Don't be stupid. What we learned driving VW's new electric ID Buzz. I don't know if they call it an ID, but anyway, I think it's kind of cute that they have ID. At any rate, Volkswagen provided flights from Washington, D.C. to Copenhagen and back, plus 2 nights in a hotel so that they could drive. This is sourced over by Ars Technica. Drive the ID Buzz, and Ars did not accept paid editorial content. That's what they want you to know when you go over and read the article. At any rate, I have been holding out to get the Volkswagen ID Buzz, but in lieu of that, I'm actually also have a reservation for the Canoe, which is an all-electric bus. Like it actually it's a pill with wheels. I think it's awesome, but other people probably don't. Few vehicles in the time that they've been covering the industry have attracted or sustained quite a level of interest as the Volkswagen Buzz. Buzz, get it? Let's click the link. Takes us over to Ars Technica. Jonathan M. Gitlin is the author. I think these look awesome. I wish that they were more vertical in the front, more like the original VW bus. throw 11 windows on there and have it front actually pop out forward, and you basically have the old school classic with the safety features of modern engineering. And this thing, it's gonna sell, but there's gonna be artificial scarcity because they're not gonna produce a lot. I guarantee it. Right out of the gate, they're gonna get people hyped and a whole bunch of people hungry, and then they're gonna reduce another, and they're gonna let another model come through that isn't as expensive as this one. We'll see. Boxy microbuses have been part of the VW lineup since 1949's original Type 2, also known as the T1 Combi or Transporter. As time went on, the buses evolved into a more angular, and they eventually started to look more like any other minivan. But as VW found with the Beetle concept in 1994, there's a lot of affection out there for the early designs. That's basically what I just got done saying. Yeah. I don't read these articles beforehand. Again, I just want to remind everybody I don't read these beforehand. The ones that I select here I don't talk about, I should say I don't read before I do my show. The first retro-looking revival attempt was a 2001 concept called the Microbus, and I think they should have stuck to that. This was before people realized you could daisy chain immense amounts of laptop batteries together to make a viable electric vehicle. So the 2001 microbus concept would have been powered by VW's internal combustion engines. Most commonly, it's ubiquitous and cheaty diesels, no doubt. Yeah. There was a problem with their cheaty diesels, by the way. Also, I used to be friends with somebody that uh, two people actually. They were partners and that would customize buses, Vanagons and VW buses, and put like a Porsche engine in it. Quite the feat. To me, great engineers. Lackluster in other areas, but at any rate. So VW showed off another concept minibus in 2016, ultimately resulting in the ID Buzz. And it says US bound ID Buzzeye? I don't know. Buzz off. Won't arrive until 2024, as getting the ID.3 and ID4 out of the factory doors has been a higher priority. In fact, the US model won't be seen until 2023, I suppose. But the chance to spend a day driving the shorter wheelbase two-row EU version was too hard to pass up. And I want this. I would love to be able to import this into the United States and drive this, even if it means I'm paying more. But I am now committed to the canoe, and I want the canoe to come out. And it cannot come out soon enough. I don't know. That was hard. But anyway, I want the canoe. If you've never heard of the canoe, go and look it up. CANOO. Okay, that's it for today about the canoe. So if you want to read this article, go over and follow the link, go through ohmTown. Let's move on to the next article. And this one, too, is in four-wheel tech. Told you it was going to be a car-heavy day today. Bridgestone has put more than $100 million into eco tires made of shrubs. Shrubbery. There's still a lot of petroleum hanging onto electric cars, specifically around the rims. It takes about 7 gallons of oil to make each standard car tire, and the world produces more than 2 billion tires every year. Now, some tires are turning to a desert shrub and a novel means of pulling a rubber compound from it. I don't know. For some strange reason, I really hope that even hemp has the ability to be turned into car tires, and we should focus more on the shocks. The suspension should be able to absorb more of the hit to the tires instead of the rubber tires themselves. It's that rubber that is really a problem. Natural rubber is really, really expensive, and from my understanding, it's reserved for airplane wheels because that's what can really take that heat and dissipate it fast enough when it touches down. Um, but here it says that pulling natural rubber compounds out of a desert shrub is apparently possible. So Bridgestone Americas has been working with what is that? Guayule Parthenium argentatum since 2012. The tire company, broke ground on a research facility in Mesa, Arizona in 2012, started evaluating sample tires in 2015, and received multiple grants from the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Energy for its research and molecular breeding work. Last month, the company committed another 42 million to expanding its harvesting partnerships with 350 acres in the short term and 250,000 more planned. That's more than 100 million invested into Wayule based rubber. Let's click the link. Takes us over to Ars Technica, Kevin Purdy. Yeah, I guess it says drought friendly plant can produce rubber good enough for Indy race tires. Not bad. Yeah, a lot of developments come out of sports. So if you don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff, yeah. So we go from tactical to practical, and that tactical used to be specifically government, but really nowadays, you do NASA stuff and you do NASCAR and Indy and all the sports medicine that comes from NFL and other sports around the world. Um, yeah, we try to, as a society, benefit ourselves and then benefit others. Kind of like an airplane. When the masks descend because something happens, you should put your mask on first and then help others, because you can't help others if you pass out. That's kind of how a lot of research and development works. Um, so it says with, I think I'm pronouncing it Guale correctly. Um, we can reduce the environmental impacts that come with overseas sourcing while also realizing a more sustainable agricultural system for parts of this country that are facing persistent and worsening climate conditions. So it's really something with many benefits for our environment and our economy, says Nizar Trigui? Trigui? I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. Chief Technology Officer for Bridgestone Americas. And this was done in a press release. So this is all public information. It isn't anything, proprietary to ours. But this is what that plant looks like. It looks like something you could probably turn into tequila if you did it right. Plant grows with half the water of traditional plants, stands up to heat, and contains hypoallergenic latex. Pretty cool. Other companies have made use of guale, I think, rubber's unique properties. Ulix, based in San Diego, capitalizes on the lighter, more flexible rubber produced by guale. I will learn how to say this damn plant. Anyway, and the lack of allergy trigger latex proteins to make wetsuits, activewear, and other products. So it's not something new, but it may be something new in its modification by researchers to enhance its flexibility. We'll see what Bridgestone Americas does. I would love to ditch another oil waste product. I mean, it really is a waste product. We make these tires out of oil, and then we shave off a layer as we drive them around, and then they end up by the billions out in landfills, and then something happens and they're set ablaze, or they decompose over time into some swampy gruel that contaminates the water supply, or they breed countless mosquitoes that uh, are just a pox on society. We just There's people out there that just want short-term gain at the cost of whatever it is, even if the world is made worse for their greed. So let's hope that Bridgestone changes this dynamic and we get a healthier world out of it. Now, the next article is over in the Word in Tech. Northeastern University VR lab targeted in a mail bomb attack. Law enforcement officials are investigating an apparent mail bomb attack in the virtual reality center at Northeastern University after an employee was injured in an explosion Tuesday evening. Authorities say the package was sent in a hard plastic case and triggered to detonate upon opening. Got to be careful, folks. The attack appears to be politically motivated by fear of VR technology, which basically equates to idiot, as it was accompanied by a rambling note attacking Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, probably because they think he is a lizard person, a lizard person, and broader academic research on augmented reality devices per CNN. So you have to be a real dipshit to think that VR technology is bad. It gets used in phobia treatment, pain management, learning, uh, all kinds of other things, not to mention just plain entertainment with no other function than to just enjoy yourself in a virtualized space that can't be made real. The employee who works at the VR center suffered lacerations to his hands, but was not seriously injured. Good. I hope they track down. By the way, they will track you down, whoever you are. Why? Because there's forensic transfer. They're going to know who you are. And I hope that you are caught. Russell Brandom is the author of this over at The Verge. I mean, there's plenty of reason not to like Mark Zuckerberg, but to create a mail bomb and hurt somebody that's completely innocent and, and not even in any way connected to Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, you're showing your sociopathy. Per police reports, the package triggered alarm shortly after 7 p.m. So somebody's working hard at 7 p.m. and this idiot blows them up, man. So stupid. University police declared the scene contained just before 10 p.m. The suspect remains at large. This is why we can't have nice things. Speaking to Newsweek, a UK-based counterterrorism expert noted similarities to the Unabomber attacks, which killed 3 and injured dozens over more than 17 years. Notably, those attacks were carried out by mail bombing, motivated by a paranoia fear of technology. Yeah. So do yourself a favor, whoever you are that did this. And if you want to go and live in a cave, go live in a cave. Let the rest of society, civilized society, manage. We can do without you. I guarantee it. We can do without you. So, Northeastern University hosts a number of VR oriented facilities, including an immersive media lab suite that includes technologies for design, development, and exploration of virtual worlds, AR, VR, XR, and 360 video. And a separate student organization provides students with free access to said VR hardware. It's great. Let's move on to the next article. That one is in the Word in Tech as well. And Zoom is enhancing its services with a calendar and email tools to take on Office and Google. And hopefully they keep it as streamlined as humanly possible because Zoom is drop dead simple. You mash that link and you can Zoom around the world. Zoom may be getting ready for its biggest expansion yet, and please, again, just please don't make it bloatware. I will hate Zoom if it becomes all bloated with a bunch of garbage and ads and whatever else, and I'm paying for it, so you leave my Zoom alone. The company is preparing to launch email and calendar apps. The information reported it's a website, but this one was actually aggregated from The Verge and could do so before the end of this year. That would turn Zoom, which has already evolved from a video chat platform to a competitor to Slack with whiteboard apps and even your own Office phone into a full-fledged competitor to Google Workspace and Microsoft Office. But it's not even close to Microsoft Office. So come on. That's a little bit irrational exuberance towards Zoom. David Pierce over at The Verge wrote this article. Um, Calendar and email are both heavily used as scheduling tools too, which means Zoom could integrate more deeply with companies that already use it. And on the flip side, both Google and Microsoft are trying to edge Zoom out. The Meet button in Google Calendar sucks. Oh, I'm sorry. That slipped right out. Microsoft Office Teams sucks. Oh God, that slipped out too. My filter is just not working. It must be powered by Microsoft. Seems to be getting bigger every day, and those companies are betting their default status will ultimately win. Yeah, because it's largely, you know, a ton of money. The only reason why Google is in a browser um, is because they pay for the privilege. The only reason why Chrome exists is, well, the technology was there. You can make a browser, by the way, with an open source freeware core browser. Um, so Zoom was able to grow so fast in the last few years by being additive. It was better at video than anything in those other suites. So people adopted it in droves. It wasn't just better, it was easier. It wasn't better video. It wasn't better at video. It was drop dead simple at getting that video delivered and accessible. That's what I paid for. That's what I want. I don't want all of the rest of the crap around it. So please, Zoom, do what you do best. Don't enhance it into the nightmare that is Teams and Meet. Just leave it alone. The next article is in the wow, I could use a new home. Would you like to give it to me? That's the category. No, it's in the order of the grape. It says this $2.5 million Napa home with an underground winery is for sale. Buying a home can be a long, time intensive place. Not time intensive, it's wallet invasive. Anyway, why settle for anything less than the perfect property? This real estate listing, which holds an unusual basement addition, might just be the dream home. On Coombs Street in Napa, California, sits a 4-bedroom house with a winery beneath it. It's on the market with an asking price of $2.5 million, according to the online Coldwell Banker listing. I'm gonna click this link, take us over there. Looks kind of humdrum as a house, right? Pretty standard fare. Nothing spectacular on the front facade. Nicolette Baker is the author of this, and the photography was done by Caldwell Banker, apparently. VinePair is the source of this, but aggregated into the order of the grape. See? Of the grape. Anyway, the winery house is a hidden treasure in historic downtown Napa, a beautifully maintained and improved Victorian with an 1,100 square foot basement winery with 250 case permit, an absolutely gorgeous party room. It's impossible not to be surprised and delighted at every turn. I've always wanted a Victorian house, by the way. More than 15 years ago, I went looking at some local ones that were modern Victorians, but they wanted 1.2 million then. I'd have to swing by and look at them now. Couldn't swing for the fence on that. But each Victorian, like I said, it was modern amenities, Victorian style, had an elevator inside it from basement to second floor and higher. If you outfitted the attic, it would go all the way up to the attic. Anyway, the Victorian style home was built in the 1870s and likely moved to its current location in the early 20th century, and current owner Marquetta Formeau. That's a hell of a name and lives up to the Victorian style. Who owns the property since 2008, came up with the idea to build the underground facility according to San Francisco Gate. So What? They didn't provide very many pictures. Well, that's just silly. Anyway, you can follow the Caldwell Banker listing. I don't know if I want to do that. I think I want to just make y'all go and do it. I'll include it in the show notes. You can go and check it out. The next article is Glenfiddich's latest whiskey is aged for 50 years and costs $50,000. That's just amazingly expensive. Glenfiddich's new um, collection was created for collectors with a thirst for heavily aged whiskeys and $50,000 to spare. Based on everything that I know and everyone that I have ever heard talk about the ever increasing age of whiskey, has said to me, and the oldest that I've had, I think, is 25, said that it just becomes more muted as you age it beyond that. But obviously, for me to get a sip of 50-year-old whiskey, um, I don't know, might have to sleep with Elon Musk. Anyway, the Time Reimagined collection includes 3 rare ultra premium single malt scotches, including a 30-year, 40-year-old, and 50-year-old malt whiskey. The 3 spirits retail for an astronomical $1,300, $4,600. They had to. Why didn't they just round up $1,300? They make it $1,299. Anyway, $4,600 and $50,000 respectively, and according to the uh, September 7th press release, apparently it's out there. So if anybody has it and wants to share, I'm available pretty much any day of the week, and I'll drink it on the air and have a conversation about it. And I'm really sorry. If you want to share it, I'll put you on camera up there, but you're going to have to zoom in because I'm paying for Zoom. And, well, my office is, nah, it's pretty big. Anyway, I'll just leave it alone. 220 bottles of the 50-year-old expression. I don't know why they call it that all the time. Are available worldwide. The rare whiskey is sold in packaging as unique as the liquid itself. It encapsulates the maverick spirit known to the brand, according to the release. In whiskey production, we often talk about the role of malt masters, and it is our responsibility to find the delicate balance between the taste of the whiskey and the intensity of the oak cask. Malt master Brian Kinsman states in the press release, we don't always acknowledge how each cask, each bottle, is absolutely unique because of the time it is spent maturing. Both nature and time play huge roles in making whiskey taste like it does, and Glenfiddich's Time Reimagined pays homage to this process and the exquisite liquid that time helps to create. I'm slowly turning into an ASMR news stream, and I'll be selling my bath water at a later date. Let's move on to the next article. It's over on the Hatch Ideas channel. Chick-fil-A apologizes after a viral tweet from the company account sparks accusations of racism. In the Will This Ever End section of the news, Chick-fil-A has faced backlash after a tweet from its account sparked accusations of racism. The fast food chain apologized for the post, calling it, "We said this out loud? I'm sorry. We were supposed to say it quietly." Oh, no, actually, what they said was, poor choice of words. Chick-fil-A has previously faced criticism for its stance on LGBTQ. They left off the plus rights. But anyway, let's just imagine a plus in there. Fast food chain Chick-fil-A. On September 9th, the restaurant chain responded to a tweet posted by a black Twitter user. I'm not sure that's really the turn of phrase you want to throw out there, with the username Dawn, about the chain's spicy chicken nuggets. Let's click this link and take us over there. Beatrice Nolan is the author. This could be nothing, right? Context really matters. In ohmTown, context is king. It really matters. We want the full story. It's a Houston, Texas Chick-fil-A. I'm not sure if this is going to turn out positive. A businessinsider.com article, Beatrice Nolan is the author. So let's see if we can find this. Seemingly in response to Chick-fil-A announcing the return of its grilled spicy deluxe sandwich, the Twitter user posted grilled spicy deluxe, but still no spicy nuggets. The company account for Chick-fil-A responded to the tweet saying, "Your community will be the first to know if spicy items are added to the permanent menu, Dawn." And that turned into 9,000 retweets, with users accusing the company of using racially insensitive language with the phrase "your community." And I would probably say that's probably not even close to being racially insensitive. But given the context of the LGBTQ history, maybe somebody wants to take it in that direction. 9,000 retweets. I want to say retreats because it sounds regressive. Um, Maybe, well, they apologized. The response was a poor choice of words, but not intended to be insensitive or disrespectful. I think by saying your community, they're talking about their location, their area of society, not who are you referring to as your community. I mean, come on, give a little bit of credit. Do you really think that they're going to lean? Oh, well, it's Chick-fil-A and it is Texas. I'm not sure. We often use the term community in a broader sense to talk about the places where we operate restaurants and serve the surrounding community. Done. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, folks. Representatives for Chick-fil-A did not immediately respond to insiders' request for comment made outside normal working hours. I don't know. I didn't read it that way, but then again, it wasn't. Yeah. I tend to seek context, and I refuse to just buy into whatever is being retweeted. Let's move on. I think that in the grand scheme of institutionalized racism and abuse, that was pretty soft. Anyway, the next article is in the Stock Marketeers channel. It masked the full perception. Falling gas prices may have given Americans a false sense of hope for August inflation. While gas prices fell 10.6% during August, the overall cost of living increased. Yes, indeed. It's what I talked about when I first started the show today. It is still increasing. Why? Why is that? It's because the next level of person, the people that took what the producers provided and turned it into retail purchases, supplies in stores, supplies in stores. I'll just leave it there. The stuff that us consumers are actually purchasing, not at the wholesale price, that is still, that level is still raking in money because they've been forced to raise their prices and they didn't move fast enough. So they lost a little bit, but they're going to extract it from the consumer come hell or high water. This is over at Market Watch. They tend to change their titles. I always warn people about this. This was first published on the 13th and then edited on the 14th. Falling gas prices gave Americans false confidence that inflation was cooling at a faster rate. August figures disappointed analysts, Wall Street, and consumers. So you can see the difference between what my aggregator grabbed, quote unquote. It masked the full perception. Falling gas prices may have given Americans a false sense of hope for August inflation. Then the inflation numbers came in and they changed the title, left the URL, edited the article to have a different context in its subtlety. But the nuts and bolts of it is gas prices declined 10.6% from July to August, according to Tuesday's inflation data. That reaffirmed the price drop drivers have been seeing in recent trips to the pump, and it follows a 7.7% decrease from June to July. This is all stuff where I said at the beginning of this, in August, it's stabilized, but it's slowly decreasing. I don't think it's going to stay. I think this is kind of a dead cat bounce. I think it's going to go back up shortly. As we break out of summer and start moving into winter, I think that they're going to start increasing the prices again. That is my interpretation of what I have seen. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. It's a caveat. This is a guess because you never really know what the response is going to be unless you're an insider. So it says it was a disappointing set of numbers at a time when economists were forecasting a 0.1% decline month over month that would have taken the year-over-year rate to 7.9. Consumers were also expecting more price moderation ahead, including gas costs. But we ended up at 8.3%, which is still almost 3 times what the cost of living in terms of like pay bumps and typical cost of living increases are given to some people. But not everybody benefits from that. I certainly haven't. Right. Um, and I'll just leave it at that. I haven't seen a pay raise. Not in and of itself. Nothing that has actually made a dent on the cost of living um, from that side of where I make money. Anyway, it says nationally a gallon of gas was $3.70 on Tuesday, down 7 cents from the week ago, and more than 25 cents from a month ago. That's great. Wonderful. Let's see if that sustains itself. But I think it's just blowback. And the elasticity of demand for gas basically means that just like it happened several years ago, it was at this price point and it went up. And then people started railing against it and it went back down. Gas companies capitulated. Oh, all right. You guys really don't like us taking all your money. Let's blame the president. That's just dense. At any rate, that's it for today. This has been the ohmTown Daily News Show, basically a composite of news from 200 plus articles or sources into 6 main categories and filtered into 50 channels. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, be sure to go over to Twitch and follow. There is a button to follow. That would be great. Just go to twitch.tv/ohmTown. And it's also over on YouTube, but I'm no longer streaming live there. I'm also going to check the process with this to see if I have to post manually. It's all linked together. It's supposed to just post it over there. But I don't know what kind of hot mess this is going to turn into. I just know that I had 0 engagement over on YouTube. So it was really just a burden to bother with it. So that said, I like being able to interact with all of my stuff only on Twitch. It's immediate, real time. It's kind of my thing. I like the gig. I like the gaming. I like the personalities that I've met over on Twitch. Because, it's, I think, a lot like everybody else over here. So good to see you if you are in my chat and lurking. Thanks for sticking around. If not, when you do watch the VOD or download the podcast, please come and visit 6 o'clock every day. And I mean every day. I haven't missed a day yet. So come and hang out with me. See you later. Bye-bye.